Hey guys, another video for our Castles and Old Buildings in Japan playlist. In this case we have a town, whole town of old buildings. As you can see, it's a pottery town, been a pottery town for hundreds of years. And it used to look like that, lots and lots of chimneys and a black sky. There's lots of the chimneys still here, and there are pottery kilns here that are still in use, but it's not as smoky as it used to be, fortunately. So interestingly, these sake jugs that you can see over there on the right hand side that are making up that retaining wall, you can actually find them on eBay in some other countries for between about $100 and $200 each. However, they were made in such abundance in this town that they actually became cheaper than bricks. So quite often when they built retaining walls or foundations for buildings, all sorts of things like that, they use these sake jugs, which is sort of beautiful and sort of tragic at the same time. It's like, oh no, oh, I'd love one of those. But they're just everywhere. They're piled up behind people's houses, they're piled up in corners all over the place. And those other ones you can see there with the holes are actually water pipes. So no idea why they have the 6 holes in them, but you see them all around the town, used for other things as well, retaining walls and umbrella stands and all sorts of things, because again, it's so cheap because they're made in such abundance. And even the path that we're walking on there, you can see they've used broken pieces of big pots and just inlaid them into the concrete there to give us a walking path. Beautiful old house in there. We've actually shown you that old house before on this same playlist. And then because it's such an old area, these are actually roads. So these were the roads that they used to move things around, still are. And of course they just used hand carts to push the pottery around the place, and the materials in and out and everything else that they needed to move. Very small walking tracks, as you can see. Beautiful old buildings. So lots of these buildings still have potters in there, but they're sort of a bit more arty now. They're a bit more like little studios, and the people in there tend to make more creative, arty little things than the old style where they used to make the big pots and the big water pipes and things. So this is actually a big kiln. So there's the chimney. You can see the metal bracing there that's been added years ago, because the brick chimneys would crack and fall apart in earthquakes. So to support them during earthquakes, they put these sort of metal cages around them to help support them. And then inside is this kiln. And this is a fairly standard size, so you can walk in. They used to push the things in on carts, huge pots and things, and just line them all up. And then on each wall there you can see there's 3 pits down that side and 3 pits down the other side, and that's where the fires were. They stoked them up from the outside of the kiln. Down those 3 sides, just kept stoking them from the outside. And interestingly, you would assume that in a kiln like this it would be really dirty, but in actual fact, because of the incredible heat in there, all the soot actually turned to glaze. So the insides of the kilns are actually pretty clean. Lots of old photos there, isn't that classic? Beautiful old photos of things that we're actually standing in the middle of, which is always gives a bit of reality to it, doesn't it? A bit of realism. So you can see the black there. You can touch that with your hands, it doesn't get dirty. It's actually glazed from the heat. And here we are outside the kiln now, and you can see that's the bottom. That little archway there would have been open straight into the kiln, and they just stoked the fire there from the outside. So pretty hot, dirty business that would have been. Even outside the kiln would have been hot and smoky and pretty dirty. And this is a big one. This is a step kiln, and it's actually a row of kilns side by side stepping up as it goes up the hill. And the idea is that it's sort of a economical way to use the heat. So the idea is that they stoke the kiln down the bottom, and the heat would work its way up naturally. Heat rises, doesn't it? So they light the fires down here, and the heat would work its way up the hill through that series of kilns there. I think there's 8. And then right up the top of all of them, there's this row of chimneys. So obviously they draw, the air draws up through those chimneys, and that brings the heat up from the fire down the bottom up through all the different kilns. So here we are on the other side. This will give you a perspective from the other side of the kiln. Not quite as big as that first one we saw, but nevertheless big enough that you could just wheel a cart in there and unload all the bits, stack them all up. Stack them right up to the ceiling they did. Just need enough air to get in amongst them to get the heat through. So they can stack them up pretty full, as long as there's little spaces between all the things that they want to get hot. Fill up all the kilns and then light the fire. So again, walking around the paths. So interesting, some of these paths are wide enough to get one of those little K cars down, one of those tiny little trucks that we've showed you. And they do get in and out. You can see a forklift there. And that's obviously, that warehouse is still being used for pottery. In quantities of pottery. And then other tracks like this one, obviously, that are too small, even for the K cars, but people push carts up and down them and walk up and down them. And again, see the sake jugs there just piled up as a bit of a retaining wall at the side with the pipes. There is a story that we've been told that this town it backed the wrong side during the Civil War, and as a result of that, the emperor said that they weren't allowed to make any decorative stuff anymore. That's why they had to make the sake jugs and the water pipes. We haven't been able to clarify that, but that does seem to be one explanation for why it was they made so many water pipes and so many sake jugs, that they're told that's all they're allowed to make. Apparently they used to make quite decorative stuff, but it's all's forgiven now, so the local artisans are back to making artistic stuff. See on the left hand side underneath that house, there's a whole house there sitting on top of sake jugs there. So yeah, it's sort of an arty place now, lots of little artistic little pottery things, and still kilns. They do have wood kilns there still. Some people are using gas kilns. They sometimes convert the wood kilns and just put gas fires in them. It's beautiful, isn't it? Beautiful old buildings and beautiful chimneys, and just this walking track through it. It's really peaceful, very nice. Another smaller kiln there. Again, that's the side, see? That's where they put the fire to heat up the inside. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that tour of the pottery town. Fairly classic of its type. You'll see others like that if you travel to Japan. There's a few around. Japanese pottery. Yakimono, they call it. More videos coming soon.